Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, looking at our final session, looking at Northward Ho, sundry times acted by the Children of Paul's by Thomas Dekker and John Webster in 1605. It's the third of our Ho 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 season, which we're releasing over Christmas for a bad pun joke thing that I can put on social media. That's the plan. It's hilarious, isn't it? No. Okay. We are going from Act 4, Scene 3 today, as we try and figure out what we're going to do with Northward Ho. It's been something of a curious egg so far. It's been a tricksy beast. We're not quite sure what to make of it, what we're going to do, and a lot of it will decide on how it ends. And as ever with comedies, we're always slightly afraid as to how they're going to end. So let's find out what we get. Reading today, who have we got? We've got reading Bawd and Kate is...
Sarah Blake, coming to you from Germany, where it's snowing and crisp and festive and lovely.
We're definitely not recording this in the height of summer. No. Reading Philip, musician and hostess is...
DiRoberto, Tucson.
Reading Chartley and Featherstone is...
Rachel in Canada.
Reading Greenshield and Allum is...
Alan, stamping around in Suffolk.
Reading Mayberry and Hans is...
Lynn, I'm in the northwestern United States.
Reading Bellamont and Captain today is...
Lois in London.
Reading Fullmoon, Wife and Doll is...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I'm all these people today, apparently.
Hopefully I haven't messed
Nothing
up.
Nothing can possibly go wrong.
Sure, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And the straightforward on the doubling front, reading Liverpool is...
I am Greg. I'm honestly not rehearsing for the summer concert.
And I'm your host. I'm Robert Crighton, your host, full of the festive mood. I think this is literally supposed to go out about a few days before Christmas on my schedule. So, season's greetings. Anyway, Act 4, Scene 3. Let's do a line from the play, shall we? Act 4, Scene 3. Enter Bellamont, Mayberry, Greenshield, Philip, Liverpool, and Chartley, all booted.
Well, these young gentlemen, too, help us to catch this fresh salmon, huh? Philip, are they thy friends?
Yes, sir.
We are beholding to you, gentlemen, that will fill our consort. I have seen your faces, methinks, before, and I cannot inform myself where.
Maybe so, sir.
Show us to horse. Here's a tickler. Hey, to horse!
Come, switch and spurs, let's mount our chevals. Marry, quotha.
Gentlemen, shall I shoot a fool's bolt out among you all, because we'll be sure to be merry?
What is it?
What is?
For mirth on the highway will make us ride round faster than if thieves were at our tails. What say you to this? Let's all practice jests one against another. And he that has the best jest thrown upon him, and is most galled, between our riding forth and coming in, shall bear the charge of the whole journey.
Intense in face.
We shall fit one of you with a coxcomb at wear, I believe.
Peace.
Just a bargain.
And hands clapped
upon it.
Oh, stay, yonder's the Dolphin without Bishopsgate, where our horses are at rack and manger, and we are going past it. Come, cross over, and what place is this?
Bedlam, is't not?
Where the madmen are. I never was amongst them. As you love me, gentlemen, let's see what Greeks are within.
We shall stay too long.
Not a whit. Where we'll stay for our coming, I warrant you. Come, a spurt and away. Let's be mad once in our days. This is the door.
And we're going to pause there before we enter Bedlam, because I'm sure we're all expecting this visit to Bedlam. That was exactly where we thought the play was going to be going. But I think we should just bring up the jest element here. We open the play with what was effectively a rehearsal of a jest from Rastal's 100 Merry Tales, which is, good 100. Better part of 100 years old by this point. And we've sort of encountered little elements of this play where we're going, this feels like it comes from a jest, or this is a thing from something, and it's like this feels almost like a meta hint at this point of going, maybe we're going to get a few more jests. But it's also setting up, presumably, the revenge that Bellamont and Mayberry have been plotting together, so that this visit to Bedlam, of course, is not by accident, is it? They've set up this wager, and then, oh no, we should stop here, shouldn't we? Horses will be tired. Shall we pop into Bedlam for 5 minutes, see what's going on? Which, of course, you could do. It was as much tourist attraction as it was a place for people with mental health issues, and/or just people society didn't like very much. Lynn, then Lois.
Yeah, I feel like Belmont's done another sort of character shift. We talked last time about how the Bellamont in the conversation with Doll seems sort of more mean-spirited than we had imagined him up to that point. And this is like Bellamont the jokester, Bellamont the manipulator, like, dudes, never take another man's bet. He's got something going on. So that's just my observation that again, it's just like Bellamont, somebody needs to do this for the plot, and we're going to pick Bellamont, but making that seem consistent with his character would be a challenge, I feel like.
Yeah, especially when he sort of says we shall fit you one with a coxcomb at where, I believe, and Mayberry goes peace, which is presumably shush, don't let the cat out of the bag, and it feels like it should be the other way round again, doesn't it? It's sort of weird. Lois, then Sarah, then Greg.
Yeah, well, someone's pointed out in the chat the obvious fact that this is an echo of the Canterbury Tales as well. I mean, the proposal that everybody should tell us 2 stories on the way to Canterbury and 2 on the way back, and this is just in terms of jests. The other thing is just that bit where Bellamont says that he thinks he's seen these guys before. I mean, they're not really new characters. They've been pretending to be Doll's servants, haven't they? And but they are friends of Philip's as well. So they, whether he really can't recognize them or whether he's teasing them, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and we haven't really talked about Leverpool and Chartley as these sort of, they're just about, but do they really do anything? I mean, they're sort of just constantly on stage, but they say some words, but I'm not sure how far their function goes in terms of the drama. Anyway, Sarah, then Greg.
I'm sure if you were preparing this text for stage, you could elide a lot of these characters. You could give Leverpool and Chartley more to do, or Leverpool and Squirrel more to do, and sort of just amalgamate them. I have a half-formed thought. It's not a full thought. Someone else might be able to round it out, though. I don't have a lot of experience with jests, apart from the Merry Jests of George Peele, which I know really well. But based on what I know of them, and this might not be jests, all jests, but there's a lot of jests are quite often mean-spirited. You're laughing, you're being entertained by mean things happening to people who don't deserve them. And it just kind of flashed into my head, that's obviously like that. You were talking yesterday, Rob, about having a hat to not having a hat to hang the show, having a hat stand to hang the hat of this show on. And maybe that's the key to it, to understanding it. But also it occurred to me that actually is this going to turn out to be a play about jesters being jested? Like, in the Jests of George Peele, no one ever gets one over on George Peele, apart from once, and then he is made to pay for it in the next jest. The jester always has to come out on top. And if we think about the first jest, mentioned, that's linked to the first scene of the play with, if you think of Featherstone and Greenshield as the jesters, then really this whole play could be seen as a long jest called the Jester's Revenge, or like, no, the Revenge on the Jesters, as it were. And if you see it in those terms, then maybe the fact there are all these different random characters drifting in and out, and all these shifts in people's characters, maybe actually that starts to make more sense, because it's kind of, that's the function it's fulfilling. It's about, it's like you said in the first session, a revenge comedy about jesters finally getting their comeuppance for once. I mean, hey, it might not turn out that that's what happens in the plot at all, but it just rang a bell in my head, so I thought I'd mention it.
Yes, I mean the jests are all over the place in terms of what they're doing and the kinds of jokes they're telling. But certainly, yes, in relation to a jest book like George Peele, then yes, there is a certain crossover there that might work. Greg, then Lois.
It was just Lois had picked up on the Canterbury Tales. I think that I was just going to add. I think there was a reference to the Tales earlier yesterday or the day before, so it's quite interesting that it's been name checked, and then we get this. I just thought it was lovely. I love the idea of them sort of setting pranks, and the horns joke was lovely in that line.
And yes, like the Canterbury Tales, I think the odds on anyone actually telling any tales at this point is probably very low. Whereas Canterbury Tales, we'll do two stories each. Yeah, they don't get anywhere near it. Lois.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that Chapman wrote a play called All Fools, and I think he even sort of vaguely refers to it earlier on. So it kind of fits with that idea too.
Okay, let's go into the madhouse. So it's been labelled as Act 4, Scene 4, but in practice it's a continuation of the scene. They're just on stage, sort of changing their location from outside to inside. Enter Bellamont and the rest. To them, Fullmoon.
Save you, sir. May we see some of your mad folks? Do you keep them?
Yes.
Pray bestow your name, sir, upon us.
My name is Fullmoon.
You well deserve this office, good master Fullmoon. And what madcaps have you in your house?
Diverse.
Enter the musician.
God so. See. What's he walks yonder? Is he mad?
That's a musician. Yes, he's beside himself.
A musician? How fell he mad, for God's sake?
For the love of an Italian dwarf.
Oh, has he been in Italy then?
Yes, and speaks, as they say, all manner of languages.
Enter the Bawd.
Oh, look.
Look, what's she?
Oh, the dancing bear. A pretty, well-favored little woman.
They say, but I know not, that she was a Bawd and was frighted out of her wits by fire.
May we talk with them, Master Fullmoon?
Yes, and you will. I must about, for I have unruly tenants.
Exit Fullmoon.
What have you in this paper, honest friend?
This he has in all manner of languages, yet speaks none.
How do you, Sir Andrew? Will you send for some aquavitae for me? I have had no drink never since the last great rain that fell.
No, that's a lie.
Nay, by gad, then you lie for all you, Sir Andrew. I was a dapper rogue in Portingal voyage, not an inch broad at the heel, and yet thus high I scorned, I can tell you, to be drunk with rainwater then, sir, in those golden and silver days. I had sweet bits then, Sir Andrew. How do you like, good brother Timothy?
You have been in much trouble since that voyage.
Never in Bridewell, I protest, as I am a virgin, for I could never abide that Bridewell, I protest. I was once sick, and I took my water in a basket and carried it to a doctor's.
In a basket?
Yes, sir, you arrant fool. There was a arrival in it.
I cry you mercy.
The doctor told me I was with child. How many lords, knights, gentlemen, citizens, and others promised me to be godfathers to that child? 'Twas not God's will. The prentices made a riot upon my glass windows the Shrove Tuesday following, and I miscarried. Oh,
do not
Oh,
weep.
do not weep.
I have cause to weep. I trust gentlewomen their diet sometimes, a fortnight, lend gentlemen Holland shirts, and they sweat 'em out at tennis, and no restitution. No restitution. But I'll take a new order. I will have but 6 stewed prunes in a dish and some of Mother Wall's cakes, for my best customers are tailors.
Taylor.
Aye, tailors. Give me your London prentice. Your country gentlemen are grown too politic.
Oh, but what say you to such young gentlemen as these are?
So they, as soon as they come to their hands, get up to London, and like squibs that run upon lines, they keep up a spitting of fire and cracking till they have spent all. And when my squib is out, what says his pug? Oh, he stinks. Methought this other night I saw a pretty sight which pleased me much. A comely country maid, not squeamish or afraid to let gentlemen touch. I sold her maidenhead once, I sold her maidenhead twice, and I sold it last to an alderman of York, and then I sold it thrice.
You sing scurvily.
Marry, must sing thou better, for I'll go sleep my old sleeps.
And exit Bawd.
What are you doing, my friend?
Pricking.
What do you mean by pricking?
A gentlemanlike quality.
This fellow is somewhat prouder and sullener than the other.
Where are we?
Mayberry?
Oh, sorry. Oh, so most of your musicians.
Are my
So
teeth
most of your musicians.
Are my teeth rotten?
No, sir.
Then I am no comfort maker, nor vintner. I do not get wenches in my drink. Are you a musician?
Yes.
We'll be sworn brothers then. Look you, sweet rogue.
So now I think upon it, jest is crept into my head. Steal away, if you love me.
Exeunt all but Bellamont and musician. Musicians sings. I don't think we have the words for that, unless it's in the dialogue coming up.
La 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 la. Was ever any merchant's band set better? I said it. Walk. I'm cold. This white satin is too thin unless it be cut, for then the sun enters. Can you speak Italian too? Sapate Italiano?
Un poco.
Splud, if it be in you, I'll poke it out of you, un poco. Come, march. Lie here with me but till the fall of the leaf, and if you have but poco Italiano in you, I'll fill you full of more poco. March.
Come on.
Exeunt musician and Bellamont. Enter Mayberry, Greenshield, Philip, Fullmoon, Leverpool, and Chartley.
Good, Master Mayberry. Philip, you be so kind, gentlemen. Uphold the jest. Your whole voyage is paid for.
Follow it then.
The old gentleman, say you, why, he talked even now as well in his wits as I do myself, and looked as wise.
No matter how he talks, but his pericranian's perished.
Where is he, pray?
Marry with the musician, and is madder by this time.
He's an excellent musician himself. You must note that.
And having met one fit for his own tooth, you see, he skips from us.
The truth is, Master Fullmoon, divers trains been laid to bring him hither without gaping of people, and never any took effect till now.
Oh, fell he mad?
Rob woman, look you, sir. Here's a crown to provide his supper. He's a gentleman of a very good house. He should be paid well if you convert him. Tomorrow morning, bedding and gown will be sent for, and wood and coal.
Nay, sir, you must have no fire.
No? Why, look what straw you buy for him shall return you a whole harvest.
No straw be fashion, sweet, we beseech you, sir.
Get a couple of your sturdiest fellows and bind him, I pray, while we slip out of the sight.
I'll hamper in my warrant, gentlemen.
And exit Fullmoon.
Excellent.
But how will my noble poet take it at my hands to betray him thus?
All fault is but jest, he comes.
Enter musician and Bellamont.
Perdonate mi se ho demando del vostro nome. Oh, whither shrunk you? I have had such a mad dialogue here.
We have been with the other
Other mad folks.
And what says he and his prick song?
We were up to the ears in Italian, i'faith.
An Italian! Good Master Bellamont, let's hear him.
Enter Fullmoon and 2 keepers, exeunt all but these and Bellamont.
How now? Staff, what do you mean? Are you mad?
Away, sirrah. Bind him, hold him fast. You want a wench, sirrah, do you?
What wench? Will you take mine arms from me, being no heralds? Let go, you dogs.
Bind him. Be quiet. Come, come, dogs. And a gentleman.
Master Mayberry. Philip. Master Mayberry. Let's foot.
I'll bring you a wench. Are you mad for a wench?
I'll hold my life. My comrades have put this fool's cap upon thy head to gull me. I smell it now. Why, do you hear, Fullmoon? Let me loose, for I'm not mad. I'm not mad, by Jesu.
Ask the gentleman that.
By the Lord, I'm as well in my wits as any man in the house, and this is a trick put upon thee by these gallants in pure knavery.
I'll try that. Answer me to this question. And loose his arms a little. Look you, sir. 3 geese, 9pence, every goose 3pence. What's that? What's that goose roundly, one with another?
Do you bring your geese for me to cut up?
Strikes him soundly and kicks him, enter all.
Hold, bind him, Master Fullmoon.
Bind him, you. He's paid me all. I'll have none of his bonds, not I, unless I could recover them better.
Have I given it you, Master Poet? Did the lime bush take?
It was his warrant sent thee to Bedlam, old Jack Bellamont, and Master Fullmoon, our warrant discharges him. Poet, we'll all ride upon thee to where and back again, I fear, to thy cost.
If you do, I must bear you. Thank you, Master Greenshield. I will not die in your debt. Farewell, you mad rascals. To horse, come. 'Twas well done, 'twas well done. You may laugh. You shall laugh, gentlemen. If the gudgeon had been swallowed by one of you, it had been vile, but by gad, 'tis nothing, for your best poets indeed are mad for the most part. Farewell, Goodman, Fullmoon.
Pray, gentlemen, if you come by, pull in.
Oh, yes, when they are mad. Horse yourselves now, if you be men.
He gallop must that after women rides. Get our wives out of town, they take long strides.
And that closes Act 4, and we take a little interval break as they exit. This is full of period detail and telling us about the kinds of things, treatment, not just of people in an institution like Bedlam, but it sort of extends also to things like prisons as well, in the sense that the expectation you're going to have to pay and the kind of board and lodging that you're going to get, whether you're going to get decent straw, whether you've people are paying for coal and wood. It also notes it's something that's sort of true today too. If you get into a madhouse, it is very difficult to get out of one, as the thud experiments discovered in the 20th century. You can turn up and claim you are mentally ill, but it's very difficult to persuade anyone that you're not. And in fact, that's the bind briefly Bellamont is in. It started like it was going to go down a very dark path. In the sense I was sort of expecting Bellamont to be trapped there, but as it happens, following, we were talking earlier, the sort of jest format, it feels like this is I'm not familiar with this as a specific jest from somewhere, but I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't, because it feels like a sort of self-contained little joke story that someone did this mad jest to people. We also have the song. We have a couple of songs. We haven't had many songs, so it's nice to have some songs. I did quite like the Bawd song. We don't have the words for the musicians. Thoughts from the room. Quite a lot to unpack here. Alan, then Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like that's a scene which had a pre-existence and has just been dropped in semi-randomly, because it's not actually moving the main plot, such as it is, forward. No. And I just wonder whether it was just done as a grotesque, almost standalone piece inserted to fill the time.
Well, the play is full of set pieces like this. We've had a few moments like this. I mean, I think the oddest thing about this is, again, the relationship between Bellamont and Mayberry. What's Mayberry playing at? Allowing this to happen? He's supposed to be his mate. It's really weird. That there's no sort of logic there. Lynn?
My guess is that this is kind of a done thing between Bellamont and Mayberry. Bellamont's bet is, oh, let's all like play jokes on each other, and whoever gets pranked the hardest has to pay for everyone's food and lodging for the trip. And they're all like, oh, great idea. And then he creates a situation where he gets pranked in a way that really can't be beat. So, and then he's like really quick to give in. Oh yeah, you guys win. I guess I'll be paying for the travel expenses. So, my guess is that was his plan, and why he wants to be the one that's supposed to bankroll this whole thing, I don't know. But yeah, I personally find the early modern views of and treatment of mental illness really, really troubling. Yeah, Dark House and a Whip. I don't know what to do with this scene, because it's so icky.
And it's not like it's been placed in a tragic context either, whereby you play, it's supposed to be something that you're able to have a little bit of fun with, and that is slightly harder to do with the nature of this particular text. And there's lots of little lines in there that are really tricky. It's just I'm just waiting for someone to try and do something to fulfill the whole we're going to get Greenshield and the other guy. And they just don't. They keep not doing that, and it's sort of like, why wasn't, if they got Greenshield and pretended he was mad, that would sort of make more sense within the rest of the play. I don't quite understand it. Anyway, Lois, then Sarah, then Eric.
Yeah, well, I really don't think that Bellamont can be planning this. It's Greenshield that has the idea of making them think Belmont's mad, and the others go along with it. And Mayberry does seem to be slightly uneasy about betraying him. But, I mean, there is this crazy idea that if something is a jest, once you've said it's a jest, everybody's supposed to laugh and forgive you. I think we're a bit less willing to forgive in cases like that. But I think they genuinely are playing a trick on Bellamont, and it ends fairly quickly, in the same way that, I don't know, Philip's attempt to play a trick on Bellamont ends fairly quickly. I mean, they all, these are all such sort of bitty things. I think there's tons of stuff from jest books all being put together in rather a hurry by these two dramatists to create a play.
Yeah, I don't really have any additional references to other jests beyond the first one, so I'm curious to see, are we just missing these jests, or have we just not noticed that they're there? Sarah, then Eric, then we will move on.
I really liked Lynn's suggestion that maybe there's more going on here, with Bellamont's decision to do this than we're aware of as yet. I really hope that turns out to be true, because otherwise, honestly, I'd be just tempted to cut this scene completely. Maybe it will add something. Alexandra made a good point in the middle session on this play that, maybe it's actually deliberately making there to make the audience uncomfortable. She suggested that about, I can't remember what now, but something that occurred yesterday in the middle section of the play. She could be right. I personally feel that this is maybe just a, as has been said, like a early modern excuse to laugh at mad people, and it could turn out to have meaning for the plot. We don't know yet, but if it doesn't, I'm just like, take your blue pencil to it or your scissors and just like cut it straight out, because it's kind of awful.
Eric.
I was going to say, this reminds me of that scene in The Producers where is it The Producers where they end up in Sing Sing? For no apparent reason other than plot. Well, not even plot. It's just like sort of, we're in debt, therefore we go to prison. Yeah, because like that doesn't take it very seriously. I mean, they sing their way out basically and sort of keep doing stuff. Also, there was a part that the lost line is basically like, get our wives out of town, they take long strides. It reminded me of the other. Was it Westward Ho or Eastward Ho? I can't remember which one of the two. That are sort of, where they have like their wives in a row in Brainford, or is that just a sort of in like the same house or something, or same hotel, if you want to play it like as a modern thing? And yeah, it's just I'm intrigued how like this play might be responding to other stuff as well.
Yeah, I think there's lots of conversations potentially going on with this text. Anyway, we've had a little bit of a breather, gone for a chalk ice or something. Come back for Act 5 and find out how it's all going to be resolved. I think it's just one long scene. I don't think it's broken up into individual scenes, but it's full of lots of units of action. So I'll figure out somewhere to stop as we go, because we're not going to read it straight through the end, because that would be unfortunate. Anyway, Act 5, Scene 1. Enter Mayberry and Bellamont.
But why have you brought us to this wrong inn, and withal possessed Greenshield, that my wife is not in town, when my project was that I would have brought him up into the chamber where young Featherstone and his wife lay, and so all his artillery should have recoiled into his own bosom?
It will fall out better. You shall see my revenge will have a more neat and unexpected conveyance. He hath been all up and down the town to inquire for a Londoner's wife. None such is to be found, for I have mewed your wife up already. Marry, he hears of a Yorkshire gentlewoman at next inn, and that's all the commodity ware affords at this instant. Now, sir, he very politically imagines that your wife is rid to Puckeridge, 5 miles further. For, saith he, in such a town where hosts will be familiar, and tapsters saucy, and chamberlains worse than thieves' intelligencers, they'll never put foot out of stirrup, either at Puckeridge or Wade's Mill, saith he, you shall find them. And because our horses are weary, he's gone to take up post horses. My counsel is only this: when he comes in, feign yourself very melancholy. Swear you will ride no further, and this is your part of the comedy. The sequel of the jest shall come like money borrowed of a courtier and paid within the day, a thing strange and unexpected.
Enough, I have it.
He comes.
Enter Greenshield.
Come, gallants, the post horses are ready. 'Tis but a quarter of an hour's riding. We'll ferret them and firk them in faith.
Oh, are they grown politic? When do you see honesty covet corners, or a gentleman that's no thief lie in the inn of a carrier?
Nothing hath undone my wife but too much riding.
She was a pretty piece of a poet indeed, and in her discourse would, as many of your goldsmiths' wives do, draw her simile from precious stones so wittily as redder than your ruby, harder than your diamond, and so from stone to stone in less time than a man can draw on a straight boot, as if she had been an excellent lapidary.
Will you to horse, sir?
No, let her go to the devil, and she will. I'll not stir a foot further.
God's precious, it's come to this. Persuade him as you are gentlemen. There will be ballads made of him, and a burthen thereof will be. If you had rode out 5 miles forward, he had found the fatal house of Brainford northward. Oh, hone, 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 nonero.
You are merry, sir.
Like your citizen, I never think of my debts when I'm on horseback.
You imagine you are riding from your creditors.
Good, i' faith. Will you to horse?
I'll ride no further.
Exit Mayberry.
Then I'll discharge the postmaster. Was not a pretty wit of mine, Master Poet, to have then rode into Puckeridge with a horn before him? Ha! Was it not?
Oh, good, sooth, excellent. Oh, I was dull in apprehending it. But come, since we must stay, we'll be merry. Chamberlain, call in the music. Bid the tapsters and maids come up and dance. What? We'll make a night of it.
Enter tapsters, fiddlers, etc.
Hark ye, masters. I have an excellent jest to make old Mayberry merry. Soot, we'll have him merry.
Let's make him drunk, then. Simple catching wit, I.
Go thy ways. I know a nobleman would take such a delight in thee.
Why, so he would in his fool.
Before God, but he would make a difference. He would keep you in satin. But as I was saying, we'll have him marry. His wife is gone to Puckeridge. 'Tis a wench makes him melancholy, 'tis a wench must make him merry. We must help him to a wench. When your citizen comes into his inn wet and cold, dropping, either the hostess or one of her maids warms his bed, pulls on his nightcap, cuts his corns, puts out the candle, bids him command aught if he want aught, and so after Master Sittener sleeps as quietly as if he lay in his own low country of Holland, his own linen, I mean. We must have a wench for him.
Is this wench to be found? Here are all the movable petticoats of the house.
At the next inn, they're lodged tonight.
God's precious, a Yorkshire gentlewoman. I have it. I'll angle for her presently. We'll have him merry.
Procure some chamberlain to pander for you.
No, I'll be pander myself, because we'll be merry.
Will you? Will you?
But how? Be a pander? So I'm a gentleman? That were horrible. I'll thrust myself into the outside of a falconer in town here. Now I think on it, there are a company of country players that are come to town here. She'll furnish me with hair and beard. If I do not bring her, we'll be wondrous merry.
About it. Look you, sir, though she bear her far aloof and her body out of distance, so her mind becoming, 'tis no matter.
Get old Mayberry merry. But any man should take to heart thus the downfall of a woman. I think when he comes home, poor snail, he'll not dare to peep forth the doors lest his horns usher him.
Exit Greenshield.
Go thy ways. There be more in England wear large ears and horns than stags and asses. Excellent. He rides post with a halter round his neck.
Enter Mayberry.
How now will it take?
Beyond expectation. I've persuaded him the only way to make you marry is to help you to a wench, and the fool is gone to pander his own wife hither.
Why, he'll know her.
She hath been masked ever since she came into the inn for fear of discovery.
Then she'll know him.
For that, his own unfortunate wit helped my lazy invention, for he hath disguised himself like a falconer in town here, hoping in that procuring shape to do more good upon her than in the outside of a gentleman.
Young Featherstone will know him.
He's gone into the town and will not return this half hour.
Excellent, if she would come.
Nay, upon my life, she'll come. When she enters, remember some of your young blood. Talk as some of your gallant commoners will, dice and drink freely. Do not call for sack, lest it betray the coldness of your manhood. But fetch a caper now and then to make the gold chink in your pockets. So.
Ha, old poet, let's once stand to it for the credit of Milk Street. Is my wife acquainted with this?
She's perfect, and will come in upon her cue, I warrant you.
Good wenches, in faith. Fill us some more sack here.
God's precious, do not call for sack by any means.
Why then, give us a whole lordship for life in Rhenish, with the reversion in sugar.
Excellent.
It were not amiss if we were dancing.
Oh, out upon it, I shall never do it.
And there we will pause before the entrance of the disguised people. We finally got to the sort of promised plot that we had at the end of Act 1, which is revenge by Mayberry with the assistance of Bellamont against Greenshield et al. And it's finally we've got it. It's like, after all these diversions, we're finally getting to it. And it's explained in a really complicated way that I totally missed until Mayberry came back in and Bellamont re-explained the plot. And it was that point I went, oh, that's what's just been happening for the last 5 minutes. Thank you for telling me that, because you know what? I had no clue what was going on. And that would be really helpful if you put that at the beginning of the scene. This is a trend I am noticing as we're going into the Jacobean of things happening that are not properly explicated, and then the writer puts in a bit later on explaining what happened earlier because you probably missed it. Middleton does this a lot, and yeah. So I'm thinking, is this a thing as opposed to just a coincidence? I don't know yet, but it was really helpful that they popped that little bit of information in. Maybe we'll put it at the beginning of the scene. You know what? But the plot feels appropriate. Again, it feels like there's a lot of stuff that could have been set up more organically earlier in the play. But hey, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with, hopefully this is a plot that will be satisfying and will end well. We shall see. Lois.
Yeah, what's weird about it is that Mayberry had a plot, but Bellamont appears to have hijacked it and sort of replaced it with his own plot.
Yeah, it's odd. Other thoughts on this oddness, but I have hopes. Eric.
So basically the plan is to get him to give his wife to Mayberry, but also sort of, I don't know if this is like a bread trick, but not like in the dark. Oh yeah, you go lie down and I'll just turn the lights out and it'll be, I'll be right there, darling. It's not that. It's more like
everybody's in disguise, and as we know,
Yeah.
early modern disguise is impenetrable.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something like about this scene that makes me a bit uncomfortable. I mean, okay, so the mad scene also made me uncomfortable, but I mean, something about this scene makes me think like consent, maybe.
Well, in this sense, I think Kate knows who she's wooing. In this, in that sense, there isn't a. There's obviously a trick on the husband, but actually, for once, she can see who Mayberry is, and Mayberry knows who she is. It's an interesting question where this will go. I'm hoping that Mayberry's wife will turn up any minute now, because that will then turn this into a proper bedroom farce, and that will make me happy. I don't know if that is going to happen or not, but I have hopes, because otherwise it could fizzle out like some of the other scenes in this play have done. So let's see, unless there's other thoughts. Anyone got anything else to throw in? Lynn.
Just quick, when Mayberry was saying, well, but this person will recognize that person. Oh no, this is okay. But then Featherstone will know her. I half expected Bellamont to say, "Don't worry, we're in a play."
He's disguised as a falconer. What? How's that going to affect the face? I'd much prefer he's dressed like a beekeeper. That's what I'd probably change it to. Just something suitably bizarre. I don't know. Anyway, let's see where this goes. Enter Greenshield disguised with Mistress Greenshield Kate, who is masked.
Out of my nostrils, tapster. Thou smellest like Guildhall 2 days after Simon and Jude. But drink most horribly. Off with thy mask, sweet sinner of the north. These masks are foils to good faces. To bad ones, they're like new satin outside to lousy linings.
Oh, by no means, sir. Your merchant will not open a whole piece to his best customer. He that buys a woman must take her as she falls. I'll unmask my hand. Here's the sample.
Go to then, old poet. I've taken her up already as a pinnace bound for the straits. She knows her burden yonder.
Lady, you are welcome. Yon is the old gentleman, and observe him. He's not one of your fat city chuffs whose great belly argues that the felicity of his life consists in capon sack and sincere honesty, but a lean, spare, bountiful gallant, one that hath an old wife and a young performance, whose reward is not the rate of a captain newly come out of the Low Countries, or a Yorkshire attorney in good contentious practice, some angel? No, the proportion of your wealthy citizen to his wench is her chamber, her diet, her physic, her apparel, her painting, her monkey, her pander, her everything. You'll say your young gentleman is your only service, that lies before you like a calf's head with his brains some half-yard from him. But I assure you, they must not only have variety of foolery, but also of wenches, whereas your conscienceable greybeard of Farringdon within, will keep himself to the ruins of one cast waiting woman an age, and perhaps, when he's past all other good works, to wipe out false waits and 20 in the 100, marry her.
Oh, well, bold Tom. There are precedents for it.
But I have a husband, sir.
You have? If the knave thy husband be rich, make him poor, that he may borrow money of this merchant, and be laid up in the counter or Ludgate. So it shall be conscience in your old gentleman, when he hath seized all thy goods, to take the horn and maintain thee.
Oh, well, bold, Tom. We have precedents for it.
Well, if you're not a nobleman, you are some great valiant gentleman by your breath and the fashion of your beard, and do but thus to make the citizen merry, because you owe him some money.
Oh, you are a wag.
You are very welcome.
Yes, Tane. Excellent, excellent. This one will make him merry. Steady imputation to help one's friend to a wench.
No more than at my lord's entreaty to help my lady to a pretty waiting woman. If he had given you a gelding, or the reversion of some monopoly, or a new suit of satin to have done this, happily your satin would have smelt of the pander. But what's done freely comes like a present to an old lady without any reward. And what is done without any reward comes like wounds to a soldier, very honorably, notwithstanding.
This is my breeding, gentlewoman. And whither travel you?
To London, sir, as the old tale goes, to seek my fortune.
Shall I be your fortune, lady?
Oh, pardon me, sir. I'll have some young landed heir to be my fortune, for they favour she-fools more than citizens.
Are you married?
Yes, but my husband is in garrison of the Low Countries, is his colonel's Bawd and his captain's jester. He sent me word over that he will thrive, for though his apparel lie in the Lombard, he keeps his conscience in the muster book.
He may do his country good service, lady.
Aye, as many of your captains do that fight, as the geese save the capital only with prattling. Well, if I were in some nobleman's hands now, maybe he would not take £1,000 for me.
No.
No, sir. And yet maybe at year's end would give me a brace of £100 to marry me to his bailey or the solicitor of his lawsuits. Who's this, I beseech you?
Enter Mistress Mayberry, wife to Mayberry, her hair loose, with the hostess.
I pray you, forsooth, be patient.
Oh, passion of my heart, Mistress Mayberry!
And we'll pause there as the fiddlers exit, presumably like the barman in a western diving out of the way. Potential drama that's occurring. It's a really important detail. Her hair loose, because of course once you are a married lady, your hair is coiffed and tied up and hidden, whereas only young unmarried girls will have their hair down, unless you're in a costume drama, in which case they clearly don't give a stuff. It's very irritating when you sort of know about things. Anyway, private gripe. Lynn.
Well, also, having a woman having her hair down, her hair about her ears, is a sign of extreme emotional distress. Usually grief.
Yes,
so,
because these things are, outside the custom.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a state convention. Yeah. Mad woman with her hair down.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what her state of play is yet, but it gives
on the joke. So
yeah, so where are we? But we have some wooing. Kate, did you feel wooed?
No. I can't say I felt particularly wooed.
I mean, you were doing most of the running, it felt.
Yeah, I felt like she was kind of doing, although Bellamont was kind of, helping me along there. He wasn't actually wooing. He was kind of more, allegedly encouraging me. But yeah, I think. But I mean, I assume Kate is in on this as well.
Oh yes, Kate's
pushing. She completely knows what's going on. So she's just kind of she's just going along and seeing what happens, I think, and kind of enjoying herself.
Yeah, because it's weird, because it's almost like actually Mayberry, having got himself into this position, doesn't quite know what to do
Yeah.
with himself. It's like,
Bad at it. Yeah.
should I enjoy this? No, this
Yeah.
isn't good. And then, and it's an interesting question at what point where they are physically when his wife enters, and what happens to him physically when his wife.
It's kind of endearing though, isn't it? Because like he was at the beginning of the play, he was, struck to the heart with this supposed news that his wife had betrayed him, and then Bellamont talked him out of it very quickly, and then he was like, oh, revenge. But actually someone was saying in the first session that he's a bit silly, but actually if he is played as this sort of a bit silly but kind of genuinely in love with his wife kind of character, he's doing this in order to get revenge on the people who are mean to him and his wife. But then like the reality of it, when the plot finally starts being put into action, he's like, oh my god, I've got to try and seduce this woman and kiss her, and she's kind of coming on to him. It's like that could actually be a really fun way of playing his character that would give us all a bit of someone to kind of hang our hats on, in terms of like, oh, he's actually quite sweet.
Yeah, we did say at the end of the first session, I think, we were really quite much more engaged with Mayberry and his wife's sort of plot in the initial, and the other stuff was a bit by the by, and we sort of felt that even more in the second session, where it was sort of going, not sure where this play is currently going, and it now feels like we've got a good a solid Act 1 and a solid Act 5, and then there's some stuff in between. It's a bit of a stuffed sandwich, and it feels like they figured this plot out quite well, and then the other thing less so, and so that may be giving us actually a trajectory now for what a production would look like. We've got the beginning and the end. We need to fill it and decide what we're doing in the middle, and that may be an answer to the question we have already posed. Alan,
I'm just wondering whether, in fact, a character point for Mayberry could be that he sees himself as a solid and reputable citizen, and therefore the concept that his wife might not be entirely faithful to him is an affront to his dignity rather than anything else. And that's the motivation behind it.
Well, I mean, he's definitely out of his comfort zone here. I think he's not an arch manipulator. He's trying to be an arch manipulator. Bellamont is probably more of a, has more of an idea of these things than he does, because he writes plays, so he understands plotting. And so, well, that's the logic. So, again, tidying up those edges as well when it sort of drifts is important. Lois.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can play Mayberry is to some extent bewildered, but I mean, Bellamont has told him that his wife is going to be coming and that she knows exactly when to arrive and what to do. So he shouldn't be shocked by that. And part of the point of this is that Greenshield is right there watching all of this, but with no idea that it's his wife who's behaving in this way. And I'm not sure whether Kate actually knows that. I don't think she knows who Greenshield is. I mean, she doesn't know that this weird guy that brought her there is her husband. So there's, I mean, this could be a very funny situation, I think, but clearly this is the revenge bit where the man who's been pretending to have cuckolded Mayberry is in fact in a position where he's more or less cuckolding himself, and I think that must be the joke.
Yes. Okay, let's go. Oh, Eric.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether like this is basically going to backfire, because Mayberry's wife is about to walk in on them.
Yeah,
but that is part of the plan.
And like sort of, Mayberry and Bellamont are also described as older gentlemen, so it's kind of like they make a very specific point about their age as well, like the old gentleman, and I'm just wondering if it's like, oh look, we can totally cog these older gentlemen. It's hilarious, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, it's. I think it's that the gap between planning and reality, I think, is potentially also where the fun in this scene comes, because it's all very well setting the plot up. It's another thing to actually do it, and so it's the question of how good they are or how bad they are at actually running this revenge story. So anyway, let's find out. The fiddlers have all escaped, and Mistress Mayberry has entered loose hair, the hostess. Exeunt fiddlers. Greenshield starts.
Oh, will she put some notable trick upon her cowardly husband?
Why? How now, wife? What means this, huh?
Well, I'm very well. Unfortunate parents, would you had buried me quick when you linked me to this misery.
Oh, wife, be patient. I have more cause to rail, wife.
You have? Prove it. Where's the courtier you should have taken in my bosom? I'll spit my gall in his face that can tax me of any dishonor. Have I lost the pleasure of mine eyes, the sweets of my youth, the wishes of my blood, and the portion of my friends to be thus dishonored, to be reputed vile in London, while my husband prepares common diseases for me at Ware? God.
Prettily well dissembled.
As I am a true hostess, you are to blame, sir. What are you, masters? I'll know what you are afore you depart, masters. Dost thou leave thy chamber in an honest inn to come and inveigle my customers? And you had sent for me up and kissed me and used me like an hostess? 'Twould never have grieved me, but to do it to a stranger.
I'll leave you, sir.
Stay. Why, how now, sweet gentleman? Cannot I come forth to breathe myself, but I must be haunted? Rail upon old Bellamont that he may discover them. You remember Featherstone, Greenshield?
I remember them. Aye, they are two as cogging, dishonourable, damned, forsworn, beggarly gentlemen as are all in London. And there's a reverend old gentleman too, your pander in my conscience.
Lady, I will not, as the old gods were wont, swear by the infernal Styx, but by all the mingled wine in the cellar beneath, and the smoke of tobacco that hath fumed over the vessels, I did not procure your husband this banqueting dish of succoth. Look you, behold the parenthesis.
Nay, I'll see your face too.
My dear unkind husband, I protest to thee I have played this knavish part only to be witty.
That I might be presently turned into a matter more solid than horn, into marble.
Oh, your husband, gentlewoman, why, he never was a soldier.
Aye, but a lady got him pricked for a captain. I warrant you he will answer to the name of captain, though he be none, like a lady that will not think scorn to answer the name of her first husband, though he were a soap boiler.
Hang off, thou devil, away!
No. You fled me t'other day, when I was with child you ran away, but since I have caught you now.
That poxy a wit in your singing.
Nay, look you, sir, she must sing, because we'll be married. What though you rode not 5 miles forward, you found that fatal house at Brainford, Northward. Oh no, nonero.
God refuse me. Gentlemen, you may laugh and be merry. But I'm a cuckold, and I think you knew of it. Who lay in the segs with you tonight, wild duck?
Nobody with me, as I shall be saved. But Master Featherstone came to meet me as far as Royston.
Featherstone?
He, the hawk that first stooped my pheasant, is killed by the spaniel that first sprang of all of our side, wife.
'Twas a pretty wit of you, sir, to have him ride into Puckeridge with the horn before him. Ha, was not?
Good.
Or where a citizen keeps his house, you know, 'tis not as a gentleman keeps his chamber for debt, but as you said, even now very wisely, lest his horns should usher him.
Very good. Featherstone, he comes.
Enter Featherstone at the most inopportune moment for himself.
Luke Greenshield, Master Mayberry, old poet, Moll and Kate, most happily encountered. God's life, how came you hither? By my life, the man looks pale.
You are a villain, and I'll make it good upon you. I'm no serving man to feed upon your reversion.
Go to the ordinary, then.
This is his ordinary, sir, and in this she is like a London ordinary. Her best getting comes by the box.
You're a damned villain.
Oh, by no means.
No. Odds life, I'll go instantly, take a purse, be apprehended and hanged for it. Better than be a cuckold.
Best make your first confession, sirrah.
'Tis this. Thou hast not used me like a gentleman.
A gentleman? Thou, a gentleman? Thou art a tailor.
Oh, where peaching?
No, sirrah. If you will confess aught, Tell how thou hast wronged that virtuous gentlewoman, how thou layest at her 2 year together to make her dishonest, how thou wouldst send me hither with letters, how duly thou wouldst watch the citizens' wives' vacation, which is twice a day, namely the exchange time, 12 at noon and 6 at night, and where she refused importunity and vowed to tell her husband, thou wouldst fall down upon thy knees and entreat her for the love of heaven, if not to ease thy violent affection, at least to conceal it, to which her pity and simple virtue consented. How thou tookest her wedding ring from her, met these 2 gentlemen at Ware, feigned a quarrel, and the rest is apparent. This only remains, what wrong the poor gentlewoman hath since received by our intolerable lie, I am most heartily sorry for, and to thy bosom will maintain all that I have said to be honest.
Victory, wife, thou art quit by proclamation.
Sir, you are an honest man. I have known an errant thief for peaching made an officer. Give me your hand, sir.
Oh, filthy, abominable husband, teach you all this?
Certainly he is no captain. He blushes.
Speak, sir, did you ever know me answer your wishes?
You are honest, very virtuously honest.
I will then no longer be a loose woman. I have at my husband's pleasure ta'en upon me this habit of jealousy. I'm sorry for you. Virtue glories not in the spoil, but in the victory.
How say you by that goodly sentence? Look you, sir, you gallants visit citizens' houses as the Spaniard first sailed to the Indies. You pretend buying of wares or selling of lands, but the end proves 'tis nothing but for discovery and conquest of their wives for better maintenance. Why, look you, was he aware of these broken patience when you met him at Ware and possessed him of the downfall of his wife? You are a cuckold. You have pandered your own wife to this gentleman. Better men have done it, honest Tom. We have precedents for it. Hie you to London. What is more Catholic in the city than for husbands daily to forgive the nightly sins of their bedfellows? If you like not that course, but intend to be rid of her, rifle her at a tavern, where you may swallow down some 50 wiseacres' sons and heirs to old tenements and common gardens, like so many raw yolks with muscadine to bedward.
Oh, filthy knave, dost compare a woman of my carriage to a horse?
And no disparagement. For a woman to have a high forehead, a quick ear, a full eye, a wide nostril, a sleek skin, a straight back, a round hip, and so forth is most comely.
But is a great belly comely in a horse, sir?
No, lady.
And what think you of it in a woman, I pray you?
Oh, certainly, I am put down at my own weapon. I therefore recant the raffling. No, there's a new trade come up for cost gentlewomen of periwig making. Let your wife set up in the Strand. And yet, I doubt whether she may or no, for they say the women have got it to be a corporation. If you can, you may make good use of it, for you shall have as good a coming in by hair, though it be but a falling commodity, and by other foolish tiring, as any between St. Clement's and Charing.
Apologies. Now you have run yourself out of breath. Hear me. I protest the gentlewoman is honest, and since I have wronged her reputation in beating her thus privately, I'll maintain her. Wilt thou hang at my purse, Kate, like a pair of Barbary buttons, to open when 'tis full and close when 'tis empty?
I'll be divorced by this Christian element, and because thou thinkest thou art a cuckold, lest I should make thee an infidel in causing thee to believe an untruth, I'll make thee a cuckold.
Excellent wench.
Come, let's go, sweet. The nag I ride upon bears double. We'll to London.
Do not bite your thumb, sir.
Bite his thumb? I'll make him do a thing worse than this. Come, love me, whereas I lay.
What, Kate?
He shall father a child is none of his. Oh, the clean contrary way.
Oh, lusty Kate.
Exuent Featherstone and Kate.
Methought he said even now you were a tailor.
You shall hear more of that hereafter. I'll make Ware and him stick ere he goes. I be a tailor. The rogue's naked weapon shall not fright me. I'll beat him, and my wife both, out of the town with a tailor's yard.
Oh, valiant Sir Tristram, room there.
Exit Greenshield. We will pause there because did someone just run away with somebody else's wife? Literally just say, yeah, should we just go for it? Did that actually literally just happen in an early modern play? I am quite pleased in a sort of weird way. Because I mean, I did put some crosses next to Bellamont's long speeches because I was sort of, what is this? What is this stuff?
Yes, he's having fun, but is anybody else?
Is anybody else? I'm assuming that's some sort of perverse satire on that we're not getting the gag, and I think that can quietly go. But yeah, we have the unraveling of, shall we say, this A plot is now largely put to bed here. I think everybody's sort of figured out who everybody is, and we have quite an interesting little. There's still more to come because we got the B plot to settle. Yeah, there was a lot there. Lynn.
Yeah, I kind of like this, the way this shakes out. That Kate knows everything and kind of just doesn't care. And she and her lover go off like, yeah, I'm basically gonna separate from my husband because I like you better. And he's like, cool, I'll take care of you. And Featherstone in the before that says, okay, this is the truth. This is what actually happened. So, but none of that was at all signaled in the first act or two of the play, that the relationship between Greenshield and Featherstone was going to fall apart, that they weren't like two pieces of pot. So the differentiation between their characters was never established. So I think you have some work to do as actors and a director to make this feel a little more organic.
Yeah, we didn't get a proper establishment for Kate at the beginning. And I'm wondering whether there's more to be made of that whole thing about Greenshield pretending that his wife is his sister, because we've had. There are other examples of that kind of behavior where you're pretending your wife is somebody else in some sort of weird protective-y kind of way. If Greenshield was someone who was pathologically jealous, or she might have in another tradition, then you've sort of got something to ride off. But as Greenshield is sort of just this not very pleasant reprobate who just sort of poodles around, it doesn't quite have that so I think there is something we need to do with the opening of the play, because we never really established Kate properly, and Kate does turn out to be quite interesting, because we never really established Kate properly when she first appears, because it's all so confusing. Some tidage could be done there. Lois.
Yeah, you almost have to read backward from this scene, I think. I mean, it gives you a lot of information about these people, which you didn't have at the beginning. And you could certainly at least imply some of it, at the start of the play and the way you played them.
If it was it's sort of a deliberate inversion of some other play plots, and it was making that more apparent at the beginning. So, we're playing it like this, and then you get to the end and, oh no, it turns out everything's different. That would make more sense. But as it's not really obviously spoofing the plot of another play, or in that sense, or it doesn't appear to be. It's doing lots of little sort of bee sting attacks at things, but it's not necessarily doing an overarching thing on that sense. Lois again.
Yeah, there's one of Chapman's comedies, actually, and I can't remember which one. It might be All Fools. It's based on a play by Plautus, in which I think there are these two couples, and each woman is pretending to be the sister of the man that she's actually married to, or I can't remember now, the whole weird situation. I think maybe it's the one called The Haunted House, or Mostellaria, I think it is, in Plautus. And I forget what Chapman called it. But anyway, that must be where this idea of the husband passing off his wife as his sister comes from.
Yes, it did sound awfully familiar, and I don't quite know where All Fools lands in the timeline. It's somewhere about here, but I don't know if it's in the past or it's yet to come. Because we've done most things up to about 1604. This is 1605. There's about a dozen plays around orbiting this play we haven't done yet, and I don't know if All Fools sits in there, because it would make sense if they're spoofing All Fools, and we haven't read it yet, so we don't get the spoof.
Yeah.
But if it's yet to come, then it can't really be doing that unless it's just been wandering around in manuscript, which is also not impossible, but less likely.
Yeah.
For you to write a play on it. It's
Yeah.
just
Well, this could be, we are being just as goofy as Chapman's comedies.
And we have read some Chapman's comedies, with certainly some comedy of the humorous comedies that we've already had, some of those are Chapman, and so we enjoyed certainly a percentage of them. There was some nice stuff going on there. Okay, any other thoughts before we go into what I'm dubbing is probably the conclusion of the B plot primarily, though I'm sure there'll be some A plot tidy up to go as well. No, I see no one waving. Okay, so they have exited Greenshield, exit Featherstone and Kate. We now have enter Philip, Leverpool, and Chartley.
News, father, most strange news out of the Low Countries. Your good lady and mistress that set you to work upon a dozen of cheese trenchers is new lighted at the next inn, and the old venerable gentleman, her father, with her.
Let the gates of our inn be locked up closer than a nobleman's gates at dinner time.
Why, sir? Why?
If she enter here, this house will be infected. The plague is not half so dangerous as a she-hornet. Philip, is this your shuffling of the cards to turn up her for the bottom card at Ware?
No, as I am virtuous, sir. Ask the two gentlemen.
No, in troth, sir, she told us that inquiring at London for you or your son, your man chalked out her way to Ware.
I would Ware might choke 'em both. Master Mayberry, my horse and I will take our leaves of you. I'll to Bedlam again rather than stay here.
Shall a woman make thee fly thy country? Stay, stand to her, though she were greater than Pope Joan. What are thy brains conjuring for, my poetical bay-leaf eater?
For a sprite of the buttery that shall make us all drunk with mirth, if I can raise it. Stay, the chicken is not fully hatched yet, I beseech thee. So, come, will you be secret, gentlemen, and assisting?
With Rambills, if you think
If you
good.
think good.
What will you say if by some trick we put this little hornet into Featherstone's bosom and marry him together?
It's impossible.
Most possible. I'll to my trencher woman. Let me alone for dealing with her. Featherstone, gentlemen, shall be your patient.
Ow!
Thus I will close with this country peddler, Mistress Dorothy, that travels up and down to exchange pins for coney skins very lovingly. She shall eat of nothing but sweetmeats in my company, good words whose taste when she likes, as I know she will, then will I play upon her with this artillery. That a very proper man and a great heir, naming Featherstone, spied her from a window when she lighted at her inn, is extremely fallen in love with her, vows to make her his wife if it stand to her good liking, even in Ware. But being, as most of your young gentlemen are, somewhat bashful and ashamed to venture upon a woman.
City and suburbs can justify it. So, sir.
He sends me, being an old friend, to undermine for him. I'll so whet the wench's stomach and make her so hungry that she shall have an appetite to him, fear it not. Greenshield shall have a hand in it too, and to be revenged of his partner will, I know, strike with any weapon.
But is Featherstone of any means? Else you undo him and her.
He has land between Fulham and London. He would have made it over to me. To your charge, poet, give you the assault upon her and send but Featherstone to me. I'll hang him by the gills.
He's not yet horsed, sure. Philip, go thy ways, give fire to him, and send him hither with the powder presently.
He's blown up already.
Exit Philip.
Gentlemen, you'll stick to the device and look to your plot.
Oh, most poetically, away to your quarter.
Aye, march. I will cast my rider, gallants. I hope you see who shall pay for our voyage.
Exit Bellamont. Enter Philip and Featherstone.
That must be he comes here. Master Featherstone, oh, Master Featherstone, you may now make your fortunes weigh 10 stone of feathers more than ever you did. Leap but into the saddle now. That stands empty for you. You're made forever.
An ass, I'll be sworn.
How, for God's sake, how?
I would you had what I could wish you. I love you, and because you shall be sure to know where my love dwells. Look you, sir, it hangs out all this signs. You shall pray for where, when where is dead and rotten. Look you, sir, there is a pretty little pinnace, struck sail hereby, and comes in lately. She's my kinswoman, my father's youngest sister, a ward. Her portion, 3,000. Her hopes, if her grannam die without issue, better.
Very good, sir.
Her guardian goes about to marry her to a stone cutter, and rather than she'll be subject to such a fellow, she'll die a martyr. Will you have all out? She's run away, and is here at the inn in the town. What part soever you have played with me, I see good parts in you, and if you now will catch the time's hair that's put into your hand, you shall clap her up presently.
Is she young and a pretty wench?
Few citizens' wives are like her.
Young, why, I warrant 16th hath scarce gone over her.
Sfoot, where is she? If I like her personage as well as I like that which you say belongs to her personage, I'll stand thrumming of caps no longer, but board your pinnace whilst 'tis hot.
Away then, these gentlemen, with a French gallop and to her. Philip here shall run for a priest and dispatch you.
Will you gallants go along? We may be married in a chamber for fear of hue and cry after her, and some of the company shall keep the door.
Assure your soul she will be followed. Away, therefore.
Exeunt the others. Mayberry remains behind.
He's in the curtain gulf and swallowed, horse and man. He will have somebody keep the door for him. She'll look to that. I am younger than I was 2 nights ago for the physic. How now?
Enter Captain Allum Hands, the conies of Doll's traps earlier, and others, and they are booted.
God bless you. Is there not an arrant scurvy tribe in your company that is a gentlewoman born, sir, and can talk Welsh and Dutch and any tongue in your head?
How so? Drabs in my company? Do I look like a drab driver?
The tribe will drive you if you put you before her into a bench hole.
Is not a gentleman here, one Master Bellamont, sir, of your company?
Yes, come from London. He'll be here presently.
Will he, Torson? This omen haunts at his tail like your little goats in Wales follow their mother. We have warrants here from Master Hostess of the Shire to show no pity nor mercy to her. Her name is Doll.
Why, sir, what hath she committed? I think such a creature is in the town.
What hath she committed? Owns, she has committed more than manslaughters, for she has committed herself, God bless us, to everlasting prison. Look you, sir, she is a punk. She shifts her lovers as captains and Welsh gentlemen and such as she does her trenchers. When she is well fed upon't, and that there is nothing left but bare bones, she calls for a clean one and scrapes away the first.
Enter Bellamont and Hornet, with Dull between them and Featherstone. Greenshield, Kate, Philip, Leverpool, and Chartley. Everybody's on stage. Hopefully nobody talks at the same time.
God so, Master Featherstone, what will you do? Here's 3 come from London to fetch away the gentleman, woman, with a warrant.
All the warrants in Europe shall not fetch her now. She's mine sure enough. What have you say to her? She's my wife.
Oh, it's blood. You come so far to fish and catch frogs? Your wife is a tilt boat. Any man or woman may go in her for money. She's a coney catcher. Where is my movable goods called a coach? And my 2 wild beasts? Hogs on you, would they have thrown you to the gallows?
I must borrow £50 of you, Mistress Bride.
Galvro, and you make me de geck, de grot fool? You leave mine geld too. War, is it?
You base scums, come you to disgrace me in my wedding shoes?
Is this your £3,000 ward? You told me, sir, she was your kinswoman.
Right, one of my aunts.
Who pays for the northern voyage now, lads?
Why do you not ride before my wife to London now? The woodcock's in the spring.
Oh, forgive me, dear husband. I will never love a man that is worse than hanged as he is.
Now a man may have a course in your park?
He may, sir.
Never, I protest. I will be as true to thee as Ware and Wade similar to one another.
Well, it's but my fate. Gentlemen, this is my opinion. It's better to shoot in a bow that has been shot before and will never start, than to draw a fair new one that for every arrow will be warping. Come, wench, we are joined, and all the dogs in France shall not part us. I have some lands. Those I'll turn into money to pay you, and you and any. I'll pay all that I can for thee. I'm sure thou hast paid me.
God give you joy.
Let's be merry. Lie you with your own wife, to be sure she shall not walk in her sleep. A noise of musician, Chamberlain. This night let's banquet freely. Come, we'll dare our wives to combat in the great bed of Ware.
And close. And yes, finally the bed of Ware gets a name check. We've been wondering all the way through whether it was at that point a thing as it is to us today. And yes, it was. Wade's Mill is basically on top of Ware. So for anyone wondering about that geography thing. So in the end of the previous unit of action, when I said, an early modern play ended with someone going, no, they immediately corrected it. The course correction, you could hear the screech of the brakes going, no, you can't let that fly. That you have to get the husband has to get back to his wife, and to a degree you have to get some sort of revenge on Featherstone, I suppose, because of earlier things. I have thoughts about this, but I will hold on to them and let other people have thoughts first, because I see hands already waving. So I'll go to Sarah, then I'll go to, I think, Rachel. Were you waving as well? Yes, Sarah, then Rachel.
I have thoughts too. Yes, they do need to get revenge on Featherstone, but Featherstone, from what I remember, I kind of get him and Greenshield confused, but from what I recall from the first session, Featherstone was more the sidekick. Greenshield was the one who really did the really nasty stuff. And so this makes no sense to me, because Featherstone's already been kind of revenge has already been taken upon him, because he's been carrying on with Kate, thinking that he's cuckolded his friend Greenshield. She's actually been carrying on with someone else, and so he has or planned to, or whatever. So it's like he has been punished in a mild way, as befits the kind of character he is. But really, Greenshield is the one who should be paired up with Doll in the last scene. He should be the one who's kind of, and who should be persuaded that she's actually a wealthy, woman, and that he thinks he's got away with it. He's like, oh, okay, so I've lost my wife, but I'm gonna shack up with this rich lady, and the joke, of course, is that she's not. She's the con artist. So that would have made a fantastic ending. And why it doesn't go down that path is, I guess, to do with social mores of the time, but my God, it would have been a better play.
Rachel, then Lois.
Just thinking back to, I agree with Sarah that the characters are all confusing, and the middle bits make the plotting make the relationship between the beginning and the end not terribly transparent. But thinking about back to the first session, we mentioned this being a revenge comedy, and the way that this is like and unlike various revenge tragedies. The confession of the plotter comes too quickly. It's sort of, and then it's too easily, and too speedy the resolution to the plot, and then it sort of keeps going here with Featherstone being punished with marrying a Bawd, which Middleton uses quite frequently as a punishment. Unwittingly marrying a prostitute or sex worker is a not uncommon punishment. Problematic, of course.
Yeah, and you know we've got these things about we've been discussing how old the doll is supposed to be, because we have this line from Philip. Oh, you know, she's 16. She's a youth of 16. So again, the question of how you're representing doll in this is quite important, whether that's supposed to land as a joke or not. Lynn.
I had a thought, but yeah, I just wanted to sort of echo Rachel, that it feels, particularly the resolution of the B plot feels really rushed to me. It's like, oh, I have an idea. We'll get Featherstone married off to a prostitute, and that just falls to it, like, and Featherstone needs no persuasion. It seems really rushed. And I agree with Sarah, is that he's not really. I feel like he's redeemed already, because he's the first to confess the truth. He does it partly to rat out Greenshield, but still, he's like, yes, I confess, and this man stole your wife's ring, and we lied. And so I feel like he's not really appropriate target for further punishment, because he was the first to come clean. So like, so yeah, and I also agree that it would have been better if somehow we had made Greenshield obliged to hitch his wagon to Doll, and the couple that were having an affair are like, whoa, we get to be together. But no.
Lois.
Yeah, well, this is so complicated, because I'm still not clear whether Greenshield really is or isn't married to Kate, whether he just promised marriage or faked it or did something like that. But if he is married to Kate, then it would be pretty well impossible to marry him to Doll. Also, Greenshield is apparently a tailor. I mean, he's not a gentleman, and he probably has no money. Whereas Featherstone apparently has lands. I mean, that's a point that's made. And it's interesting that they do say, are they just both going to be poor, and is this marriage going to ruin both of them? And Mayberry, who as a citizen also lends money and deals in finance, happens to know that Featherstone has land, which in fact he later says he's going to sell to help support her in the style to which she is accustomed, I suppose. And she says that she is going to reform. It'll be faithful to him. This may just be a joke, but this is what they usually do say, in fact, in Middleton's plays as well at the end. Now that I'm married, I'm going to be faithful to my husband, and I will, enjoy my social position. I mean, these are all people in such a precarious financial state that they are doing just about anything to get security. And not that marriage is necessarily going to bring it, especially since Featherstone is probably a total spendthrift, but still, at least they're not being absolutely horrible to Doll. I mean, they are sort of getting her set up in some way. And I don't know. I mean, it's an absurd plot. I mean, he falls for it with such incredible ease, and nobody would be that dumb, you would think. But anyway,
I get the impression the idiot ball is bouncing around this stage a lot, and people are sort of picking it up quite. Yeah. I thought there might be multiple idiot balls being bounced about. I have two thoughts. I'm going to start with one thought, because we're going to have two final thoughts, because we're finishing quite early, and so there is a second phase to the final thoughts. Which I will put to the room. But the first final thought is just about this play as it stands. And so my first final thought is going to be just there's part of me that just wants to just find a cast and just do it as writ and just see what happens, because I'm really curious now whether somehow magically, I mean, beyond all the sort of problematic material that a modern audience wouldn't expect, but just to see how the play actually functions. I mean, that's what second looks here are for, but also just with more prep and just trying, because we talked about at the beginning, are people going to get the universe of this play? Are they going to get, are there sort of too many impenetrable things? I'd really be interested to see whether it's actually as incomprehensible as sometimes it feels it is, or whether actually in practice it isn't. That's more an academic exercise than it is a practical theatre maker's exercise. But I'm actually quite curious to do that now with this play, because it really has been quite a weird journey this week of trying to figure out what it's doing. I have an alternative thought, but I'll do that at the end of everybody's final thoughts before we go on to final thought part 2. Oh, you didn't know this was coming, did you? No. Okay, so I'll go around the room for final thoughts. Greg, any final thoughts of the play?
Really interesting. I mean, it's having seen Michaelmas Term earlier in the year, it's interesting to sort of see the parallels and the whole city comedy thing. And yeah, I think it'd be quite fun to not try and even out the wrinkles, so to speak, and just play it at speed. Maybe we'd all get a better understanding of it. But I'm glad Lois was confused over who was who, because that makes me feel a darn sight better about being confused.
Yeah. I mean, we are starting now to really get to grips with city comedies. We are starting to do enough of them. They're coming thick and fast. It's becoming more apparent as a proper genre. The universe of that kind of world is becoming more focused. Obviously, it's still a problem for any individual production you do, because an individual audience has to see it for the first time. But for us experiencing it, we're starting to get a sense of what they're doing and where the pitfalls lie. Kyle, you've only been here for this session, so you probably haven't got a clue what's going on. Any final thoughts?
This is not the play to come in at the end of. I'll have to pass. I have nothing.
No, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. Sarah, you have been here for the week. Any final thoughts on what to do with this? Sings a happy song, goes to happy place.
I think pretty much what you said, and Eric wrote in the chat as well about we need to workshop this. It's like I feel there is something to be done with this. I just don't off the top of my head know what. I would like to do. I am a fan of city comedies. Because they sort of segue into restoration comedies, which I'm also a massive fan of. And so I think there's a lot of potential in this. I just feel that it falls flat. And also I think part of that is there are so many places where, like, the writer in me is screaming, oh, but all you had to do was do this rather than that, and it would have been so much funnier. It would have been so much better. And of course, you know, that therein lies the path to madness. So you have to kind of take that aside and put your director's head on. I think maybe Greg's right. Maybe doing it at speed. Maybe it is actually funnier than I realize. But really, for this kind of comedy to work, it needs to be funny, it needs to be rip-roaring, like fast, furious, hilarious, over the top, so that you kind of don't notice how daft everybody is. And I just felt that it just wasn't funny enough. It had potential, but it was kind of heavy and saggy in places. And so, yeah, I would like to see it workshopped, and then maybe you could find a way to do it. Although I would be tempted to get my pen out and actually do some major rewrites, especially the bit I already mentioned at the end, and have changed the Greenshield and Featherstone outcomes around, because like you, Rob, I was so delighted that Kate got to go off with her lover, and now I'm like, oh,
I've just shutters come down and go to an epilogue. And I think using this as material to say, we would use this to go to a more rewritten as opposed to just a tidied up script is an option, and that might be something that someone out there wants to do. I mean, frustration sometimes is the mother of invention for these texts, and it might take us in interesting historical areas as well. Rachel, do you have any final thoughts you want to throw in?
I think that the middle bits are trying to do too many different things. And maybe having a visual cues to clue into which actors which doing what bits might help. But I'm unconvinced at the moment.
Yeah, it's the middle. It really is a muddle in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah.
The ending and the beginning are actually relatively tight. I mean, we might not like what they do, but they're actually quite tight in what they do. The middle and tidying up the introduction of certainly the introduction of Kate, and that extension of that plot line is really tricky. Nobody's been talking about the doll plotline, but the doll plotline hasn't really functioned in this session at all, actually. But then the whole Greenshield plot lines sort of got dropped for quite a while as well. So it does like the play veers in and out of focus on these different plot lines. We had issue with the doll plot line before, and she was vowing revenge, and then nothing came of that. And that was a shame, because if that would make that previous scene that we didn't like very much in the previous session, it would give it some focus, because something would come out of it. But because nothing came out of it, we just have this nasty scene that we weren't fans of. Eric, do you have any final thoughts?
I have a few. I mean, okay, yes, there are problems, but like I do want to do it at pace, as we said, like, you know, second look exploring sessions, blah blah blah. But yeah, I was thinking one way of doing this is that the actors have to know what they're doing. So like even if it doesn't fit with like sort of like if I had to perform this text as one of the characters, I would probably go and look at like, okay, so what is like, you know how we always have this like improv exercise about like you walk into a party and you have an objective and no one else knows what your objective is. It's that kind of level of like identifying objectives along the way, or overarching objectives, basically to con everyone into marrying each other or not marrying each other and restoring order. Obviously, sort of Greenshield and his wife Kate are, you know, reunited and stuff. So it kind of, I would, that's probably how I would do it if I had to act it out. I don't know if it would work, but anyway, yeah.
Alan, any final thoughts?
I must admit, I'm just wondering. I think this is actually the third of this franchise, isn't it? Of the Ho plays, and it almost feels to me like it was, oh well, it's a good franchise here, let's have another stab at it. And that was the big mistake, like doing a third series of a previously successful 2-part drama. The ending I found particularly unsatisfactory. I mean, doll plot basically sort of fizzles out like a damp squib, and the other plot line doesn't really resolve that well. And I still wonder whether part of the issue is because this was effectively a joint authored piece, it was lacking somebody to basically bang heads together and give it some overall coherence.
Yeah, I mean, all of the Ho plays are these joint author texts, and in a sense, they're not really a franchise; they're more a grudge. In a sense that, you know, Dekker and Webster wrote the first one, and then a rival team writes another one, which turns out to be quite good. And it's like, no, right, okay, we're writing another. And yeah, it may be that this one is a bridge too far, or it's doing some other stuff that we're just not actually getting as well. That, you know, there's some stuff in here that may have worked a lot better, but also that you know, there's an additional thought I have on that, but I'll drop that in a moment. Lois, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of ways you could take this, I think. I mean, one thing, certainly, as we went through it, I kept noticing more and more references back to the other plays. A couple of rather surprising ones to Eastward Ho that I hadn't noticed before. I mean, even that bit where I think Bellamont is singing a horn or something. I think Gertrude sings that at one point in Eastward Ho. I mean, it's apparently a well-known sort of Irish refrain or something, but there are all sorts of places you could possibly, if you were doing the plays together, really build that up, you know, cut all of them fairly heavily perhaps, but make it clear what's harking back, and, you know, do it as a kind of trilogy. My other idea, which I've been developing in the course of this, is to emphasize that the whole thing is made up by Bellamont. I mean, maybe the first act of it would seem to me to work pretty well, but really build up that speech where he's talking about Stourbridge Fair and then says, I could make a comedy of this, and then have it sort of suggested that the rest of it is possibly, you know, Mayberry trying to do something, but Bellamont, you know, keeps trying to make things up. And you could even, I think at the end, you know, have everybody rushing on and saying, but, you know, really angry with him because he hasn't resolved their bit of the plot. Something like that, I think, might actually tie it together, and you wouldn't really have to change that much.
Oh yes, I like that, in the sense that, yeah, the whole thing sort of doesn't quite hang together because he's not actually thought it through properly, and you could throw some meta theatre at it. That might be a fun exercise. I like that. Lynn, any final thoughts?
Well, I should have worn my tinfoil hat, I see, because Lois stole my idea.
Oh, did I? God, I'm sorry.
Mental projection. The group complicite is obviously
Yeah, no,
working
that was-
very well.
That was no. I crossed my heart and hope to die. That was totally what I was thinking. I was thinking, it would be, I think, useful to do like a staged reading of this in front of an audience and get their feedback. But another thing to do is to make it clear that Bellamont is stage managing all of this. That would explain the sort of inconsistencies in his character. And I don't know if you would have to be literally meta-theatrical, but he's the one that knows everything at all times and basically has the plot in hand. He's just kind of not all that good at it. Oh, it gets kind of messy in the middle. But yeah, make Bellamont the through line character and make him basically either literally or sort of figuratively, metaphorically the author. It would was my production idea too.
Yes, I forget which play. I think it's a Johnson. Opens with someone basically writing the with his script and things. So you could even nab a little bit of material from another play to fill in the gaps if we needed to, without actually improvising new material there. So I like that. That's a good plan. As we go into my final, and this is I'm not going to go around the room individually for this sort of second final thought thing, but this is my little additional follow-on thought. We have just done 3 Ho plays. You may notice we have gone west, we have gone east, we have gone north. There is no south. So on top of the potential of taking this text and maybe dramaturging it, and maybe the other 2 as well, is that we could use these 3 plays as essentially a provocation to say to someone to write us a Southward Ho. And now writing a full-length play is maybe a bit of an ask for people, but maybe a one-actor that isn't too long is fine to take ideas or themes that people really liked or didn't like from the previous 3 plays. Especially with this play, where I was doing some logistics and looking, well, the A plot in this play, the primary drivers of the A plot, there are 6 characters. And Lois brought this up about, I think last time about, not being very happy with the dull plot line overall. And in fact, actually, we could quite happily jettison it entirely and create a quite tight 70-minute one-actor, which is primarily about Act 1 and Act 5 and some of the material in between, because we still need to introduce Kate, and really focus in on the Mayberry plot and create quite a tight show with most of the good material that we really like, and then use that as a launching pad to do our Southward Ho, which we could commission someone to write, or someone's to write. We could commission a whole and if we did effectively a season of all the Ho plays, plus we could do a season of Southward Ho readings of different plays that people have come up with, and you could do it every year. Every year we're going to have a different Southward Ho, and things. So the sort of final thoughts. I'll throw this out. Anyone can wave. I imagine nobody's going to wave at all. But if you were to do a Southward Ho, what would we do? Because it's a very loose franchise. It's not like there's recurring characters. It's about going somewhere geographically. So where are they going? Morden? I don't know. I'm just thinking of
France.
But where are we going on the northern line is pretty much where I'm thinking here. When there aren't what is your location? You could, I suppose, go to a theatre south of the river. So you could even do that kind of theatrical thing. So there's lots of options. But yeah, thoughts in the room on a Southward Ho, or just actually running these 3 plays as a trilogy, and what does that what happens to them for those who've been there for that? I say this is a wavy thing. I won't go around the room. I won't force you if you weren't there for some of them. Just for the last sort of 5-10 minutes or so, Sarah.
All the women who have unsatisfactory plot endings from all 3 plays, which I mean is not all of them, because some of them it works out fine, but all the women end up down on the south coast, and by some hijinks and probably dealings with their former husbands or whatever, they come into a huge amount of money and build a town by the sea, which in a couple of 100 years' time turns into Brighton. Yeah, no, that was I think that's a brilliant idea. I think that's a really good idea to like, because I mean I of course would be interested in writing it, but I'd be particularly interested in seeing that, you know, that story where these, I'm so fed up of these comedies with the women get like such bad resolutions, and you know, you can't do this for every single early modern comedy that has a shitty ending for the female characters. So the idea of taking different ones from 3 different plays that are kind of loosely connected and actually creating a show that is just about them and what happens next, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm very much here for that.
Okay, got that. And I'm voting for the further adventures of Squirrel, but that's just me. Again, also possibly some of the servant characters maybe doing a class look as well. There might be something like that. Let's say aspects of the city at the time, aspects of the city now. I mean, it doesn't even have to be set in the same period. You know, it's a leapfrog from themes and ideas. Who else wants? Anyone else got sort of any thoughts or ideas? I know there's some enthusiasm I'm seeing in the chat for some of this. But any other ideas anyone wants to throw in? Eric, are you waving or are you just biting your teeth?
I'm biting my tongue because I'm a bad boy. I'm just wondering what you could do as a Southward Ho. Like maybe, yeah, I was thinking like when Sarah started talking about like going south, it would be Brighton or like somewhere like Southampton, because from Southampton you could just sail off towards the Caribbean and go for a holiday and never come back. I don't know. Or you could just like sort of go on a cruise, maybe.
Yes, because our definition of how far south, because of course the people here aren't traveling. They're traveling a few miles. They're not traveling, you know. But modern distances, Brighton is probably the equivalent distance to the kind of journey that they might make in the early modern period, if they're traveling south. Somewhere you could get in a couple of hours on foot or by horse, as opposed to by train or whatever. Any other thoughts on that, Lois?
Yeah, I don't know if you're thinking of this in transposing it to the modern period or keeping it in that period. I mean, there are quite a lot of characters in the plays that seem to be sort of unfinished or undeveloped that one could do something with. I think myself that Westward Ho is pretty contained. I mean, it really feels like an ending at the end. But Eastward Ho, I mean, I would love to do something more with Mildred, for example, who marries Golding and who never says anything much. And you know, they apparently have a really happy marriage, and it would be quite nice to, I don't know, just give them a chance to do something. Golding just seems to be coming out of his shell at the end when he goes into this elaborate thing of, you know, say that I've been arrested for debt and in prison. He's probably enjoying every minute of this idea of being guilty in some way. But and then the people in this play, I mean, certainly Kate, who am I married to? You know, and indeed Doll. And do we really have to marry? I don't know. There's I think you could. I agree that the women are the ones that are most sort of just dumped in the play without any real ending and any assumptions about it. And the same with Winifred, really, in Eastward Ho. I mean, she's. It's never at all clear at the end of that play whether people know what's been going on or not. And in fact, there is something that I think I pointed out when we were reading it, which is that there's a whole thing about changing clothes with somebody who must be drowned if they can believe the story. And if she isn't drowned, where is she? And, you know, I don't know. I think just even a play called Loose Ends, tying them all up down there.
Yeah, because we could pick a character from each play and have them all heading south, and that would be quite nice. And I say the size of your cast could be dependent on the size of the company doing the 3 plays as part of a season. So you wouldn't even necessarily have the kind of limitations that we have, where you make it a chamber piece and there's only 3 people or something, you know. Whereas if you know the first half of if we're doing it as a one actor with say a cut down version of Northward Ho, then you've got whoever's free and to have within that company. For the second half as well. So there's lots of options I like with that. Eric.
Yeah, well, this was also mentioned in the chat, but basically, like it would be kind of cool to have them just sail off in a pirate ship with like sort of captained by Bess from Fairmaid of the West, and so on and so forth. Because that's also about direction, isn't it, and all that stuff. Though this one seems a bit directionless at the moment.
This is true. Yes, they go to where? They do head north, but it's not as interested in city geography as the previous two were, where I was constantly going, right, they've gone from here and they're going to there, and this is where this prison is, and this is where this is in relation to everything else. And I missed that, and sort of I'm thinking for Southward Ho is like, we've done a lot of stuff on Lord Mayor shows and the relationship of Cheapside and major thoroughfares through London, and it's sort of I'd like to have that as part of the dramaturgy as well, is to incorporate some of that data that we played with. I mean, London Bridge, if we're going south, then that might be an element that we could incorporate. Yes, you probably go by boat, but that is also a thing that oddly enough I don't think gets that much of a call out certainly in the plays we've done so far within these works. I don't know if we'll get more on it later on. But as a place, as opposed to a place to cross, I'm just throwing ideas around now. Any other thoughts from the room as this sort of open-ended bit of Christmas summer madness that I'm currently throwing about? Okay. Well, I think we're done then. We are done with the three ho 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 plays. We may come up with a fourth. We might give this one its due, or we might hack it into shreds. There is no consistency really to our thoughts on this play. It's and I'm not going to be mean and rank them or anything, but this one is at the bottom, and it's. I'm
not going to, but I'm going to.
Yeah, it's I love all our children equally, even the ones that won't become great architects. Anyway, all that remains is to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone. Merry Christmas and goodbye. Out, you base scum.